Welcome everyone to the ScreamCast. I am your host, Sean DeRager, and with me as always, Brad F. Henderson.
What does the F stand for, do you think?
Fucker.
You're an asshole.
That's an easy one. I've used that joke before.
And your dad jokes are really funny.
Anyway, we're the podcast that, of course, talks about Scream Factory titles, amongst other things. So, horror and
other
sci-fi.
Things. Porn and sci-fi?
Did I say porn? I didn't say porn.
I think that would be a really good podcast, is the porn sci-fi podcast.
I am mulling that over. We'll see how it goes. See what we can do.
I think Vinegar Syndrome would sponsor that.
Yes. And you need to do more of those drunken reviewer.
It's so hard because like I don't drink, so it's like very difficult for me to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to get really tipsy and watch something and write about it, because it's just not my agenda. Like I don't even like drink like a shot or like a beer when I get home. It's just not that I just don't do it. Yeah. So like I have to like prepare and gear up, and plus I have a kid and I don't like to do it when she's home.
No, you don't want your kid coming home to
slurring dad watching porno. Hey, what the watch this movie with me.
Well, today we have a very special guest. We're going to be talking to Linnea Quigley in a little bit. And, of course, we're covering Night of the Demons. So that is on deck.
Of the Demons.
Yes. And that was a fun title for me to grab some of the sound clips and stuff.
Yeah, plus it's just a fucking fun-ass movie.
Yeah. We do have some cool things on the horizon. I'm not going to spoil anything right now, but I'm pretty excited with some of these extra things we have in the works. So next few weeks, we should have some more announcements as far as some fun things we're going to do with the show. But first, let's just jump into our Blu-ray release announcements.
Blu-ray release announcements. That's the sound clip you're going to use like that, right?
Okay, yes.
Okay,
I'm going to save that.
Don't do that. All right, so Blu-ray announcements.
What am I going to waste my money on now? I mean, not waste, but what's my wife going to get pissed off that I'm buying now?
Yeah, she's going to be pissed off about these because October 14th, of course, we've all mentioned Twilight Time is releasing The Blob.
That's my birthday.
They decided, hey, fuck it, it's October, so we're going to also release Audrey Rose and The Believers all on the same day.
Are you serious? That's going to be like...
Yeah, and we all know it's Twilight Time, so it's all limited edition.
Oh,
it's all limited edition, probably like 3,000 or 5,000 is it, I guess. So Audrey Rose will probably sell out pretty quickly. The Believers might stick around for a while because that's kind of not well known. But I'm excited about it because I've owned the VHS for a long time. Lionsgate, they announced a Leprechaun box set. It's September 30th. It's is that a week before or a week after the Halloween box set comes out?
Oh, dear God. It's a week after, I think.
So we get Leprechaun, Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun in the Hood, Leprechaun in space, back in space, on the floor. I don't know where the fuck he ends up. But anyways, that's coming out, so I'm hoping that's cheap because I might pick that up.
That better be cheap. God damn it.
WB is releasing kind of the cult favorite but also hated Dreamcatcher on September 16th. Universal announced they're releasing Firestarter and People Under the Stairs on September 2nd, which is pretty cool. Be definitely picking Firestarter up. We'll be probably picking up People Under the Stairs because Arrow has a kick-ass release of that. Rats, Night of Terror, and double feature with Hell of the Living Dead by Blue Underground on August 26th. Oculus, which Morgan Peter Brown was an associate producer on, was on the show, which is the director of Absentia. His comes out by 20th Century Fox. Is actually I believe 20th Century Fox is distributing it, which is pretty cool because it was a WWE helped distribute the film. They didn't, of course, fund it or anything. Grizzly was announced by Scorpion on August 5th. Which is super cool. I wish they would do Grizzly 2 the concert, but it's unfinished and kind of dead. I don't think that will ever see the light of day.
Darn it.
And Space Raiders was announced by Scorpion, which is kind of like a kind of a cult favorite. I compare it to Battle Beyond the Stars. Pretty okay. Like, it's really cheesy and shit.
Nice. You know what needs to come out of Blu-ray, and I've said this before on Twitter if you follow me, Ice Pirates. I freaking love that movie.
That would be a good one,
God,
too.
What's
weird is Space Raiders, though, is I could have sworn Space Raiders was a Warner Brothers owned movie, which is, I mean, they might have lost the rights, who knows, but as far as I know, Space Raiders Warner Brothers, so I'm pretty excited that somebody else got a Warner Brothers movie. I don't know what happened with the rights. I mean, they probably went up and Warner Brothers didn't do it again or whatever, but if they're licensing their movies out, that would be extremely beneficial to the world because they own a lot of really, really good horror titles. So.
Yeah.
Our recent releases, of course, was Scream Factory Ravenous. Cult Epics released Deathbed, The Bed That Eats, and Vinegar Syndrome released Sugar Cookies. Not a horror title, but Vinegar Syndrome is a really good company, and I'll support anything they release.
I was going to ask you when you brought up Sugar Cookies because it's not a horror title, and I don't think it's necessarily a porn. Is it? I mean, where does that fall between all that?
No,
it's kind of an odd title for them to release.
Yeah, well, what they've been doing is they've been going through like kind of Troma's catalog, it seems, and because Troma's pretty much bankrupt, they're hurting for money a little bit. So Vinegar Syndrome has been looking through a catalog. They're not picking like the ultra violent, gory, like when people say Troma, we automatically think Toxic Avenger and Class of Nukem High, just those really nasty, nudie filled with blood and guts and green slime. But before they became Troma, this is actually a Lloyd Kaufman. I believe Lloyd Kaufman wrote the movie.
Huh.
And it's like way, way before anything happened like that. It's really soft core. But Mary Warnoff is in it. It's got a kind of a kooky plot. Like it's kind of a thriller. It's a slapstick comedy at times. It has like a couple minor horror aspects. It's also like I said, soft core porno, which is kind of bizarre, but there's a lot of nudity in it, which I'm not complaining. But yeah, it's a weird like how Vinegar Syndrome picks their titles. I love how they do it, but man, they're getting deep down in there. That's deep down in there. They're getting deep down in there with some of the weirdest things that they're releasing, but I just fucking love it. I mean, they released a film called Punk Vacation that I just remember the box art when I was little. I never saw the movie, and then when it came out, I picked it up, I watched it, and then halfway through, I'm like, it rang a bell. Like I saw this box art when I was a child, so I looked it up and I'm like, holy shit. Every time I walked in the video store in town, it was a video store called Video Hut, I would see it in the corner and I would always kind of glance at it, but I would always, make my way to the horror section and I wouldn't look at the action section a little bit there. And I just remember the front cover and I was like, man, it's like, if you guys have seen Punk Vacation, you know what I'm talking about. Like, how is that on Blu-ray? How is that even re-released? How did somebody think of like, hey, I started a, distribution company. What films can I, pick out? Oh, Punk Vacation. That's going to be one of them. It's just, that's why I love Vinegar Syndrome is because they're true pioneers of keeping cinema alive and picking up the weirdest shit. So.
Well, I think it's cool that they're kind of branching away from the the retro porno stuff because
they're getting into, man, they got some horror title, like they're doing shit, can't remember the title now. Don't Open Till Christmas, also called You Better Watch Out. Like that's going to be a huge one.
Cool.
Very, very excited about that.
Cool. I mean, just because I don't really peruse the 70s and 80s porno, so I'm not really looking for those, but as a company, things... I dig what they're doing. You know what I mean? They have I really dig like kind of their thought process, I guess, when it comes to these movies.
Yeah, I mean, vintage porno is like making this huge comeback. It's kind of bizarre, but I mean, it's one of these things where people prefer it, like your older audience. But the things that they're releasing is not like. The beginning of the movie starts with a sex scene and then we have 10 sex scenes throughout the movie. No, it's like 30 minutes into the movie and we have like a comedy or an action movie and then people start having sex. And then it happens and you're like, what the fuck? I didn't know this is a porno. And like the sex scenes are literally like a minute long. Like they kiss, there's like 1 second of like penetration and then a money shot. And it's like at that time we had our pornos. We also had to get movies in the theater so people could see like an action movie or a comedy with porno. People started making those, like blending the two together instead of making straight pornos. They were doing like action comedy pornos, and they were hits, and I guess they still are, because obviously Vinegar Syndrome is, selling these things like crazy. So I'm happy about it.
This has been Porno Talk with Sean and Brad.
Mostly Brad.
Yeah, I'm just like, to me, it's just this oddity.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. Whatever. All
right. I want to. We brought up Deathbed, and of course, I was aware of that through that Patton Oswalt sketch where he says the name wrong.
Well, no, he's like,
the bed that eats people.
Yeah, he was like, there's a movie called that, and he was like telling people to, look it up on IMDb. It was during the Kings of Comedy tour. I saw it. And he said it inspired him to make a movie or write a movie called Rape Stove, the stove that rapes people. And
oh god,
it's just so funny. And I mean, Patton Oswalt's kind of a cinephile as well. Well, he is a cinephile, not kind of, but it kind of brought some love into that for Deathbed. But it's a bizarre flick.
Yeah, I want to see that. Can't wait to see it. And then we do want to have a show on Ravenous. I don't know. We kind of pick these shows randomly. We try to hit new releases when they come out, but there's certain guests we've been trying to get on there. Well, who knows what's going to happen with that? But I definitely do want to talk about that. I mean, heck, we may, hopefully within the next few weeks we'll talk about that one, because I love that flick, and the Blu-ray's kind of been a point of contention with some people. So I do want to hit that. So just, stay tuned the next few weeks. We'll be covering that for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure people know how we pick our shows, but we honestly just pick them randomly, or the films. We actually let the guests choose, and especially, but if they're in one of the movies, of course, that's what we're going to cover. But most of the guests pick the films. We let that up to them, and obviously it's been working. So.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. So if there's a favorite movie that you want us to cover, definitely let us know. We'll try to get to it, but we plan on hitting. The goal is to try to hit them all.
We will eventually.
Yeah, eventually we will. We wanted to bring up that Scream Factory is doing this gigantic sale. And if you hit their sale, I think each week or each couple weeks they're releasing
every Monday.
Every Monday.
Yeah, every
Monday.
Monday.
If you order a movie, which sucks for me because I already own all these movies, but if you buy the movie, they'll send you a free set of coasters.
And the coasters are fucking phenomenal.
I may buy a movie.
We'll be tweeting this shit out. Yeah, I'm planning
just
on
for the heck of it, just the coasters.
I was looking for one for a gift for somebody. I'll probably pick up. This episode's going to be airing the day that the sale ends in a new sale, but Night of the Demons was this past week. I'm probably going to pick that up for somebody because who doesn't like Night of the Demons?
The coasters are fucking awesome.
Yeah,
they're worth you spending. I think they're down to some are $15 to $10.
Oh shit, man! You can get I think Psycho right now is $10.99. Like I said, this show's the sale's already ended, but this today, if you listen to the show today, which is Monday, they obviously have another 6. So hopefully it's something you don't own.
I'll be doing that. So
same here
for sure. So check that out. And I also wanted to touch base on they're starting to do these kind of Friday night ones, and by the time you hear this, they'll have just done Night of the Demons. And they're doing, if you go to, I don't know, I would check them out, on Twitter, Scream_Factory.
Well, they're doing on the summerofear.com.
Oh, okay.
I think they actually have a domain, Summer of Fear.
Yeah.
They're doing it all up there.
So, they did Assault on Precinct 13, which I was able to check a little bit of, check out a little bit of
that too.
And they did there's some new interview footage with John Carpenter, which is pretty awesome. And it was just, it was really fun, even though I wasn't watching the movie because the kids were running around and stuff like that. And I actually brought it up on my iPad while I was doing dishes, and, but it's a very cool idea. Even if you already own the movie, it almost sparks interest because, I really want to watch the Blu-ray now of Assault on Precinct 13. And, it's just a fun way that they've been interacting with everyone. I think they had some technical difficulties, but I think it was a hit. And
it was really well done. They did a great job. And Night of the Demons is going to be fun, I think. But they're doing Night of the Demons, which is, of course, already passed. But this coming Friday, I believe they're doing Witchboard with Kevin Tenney. So
nice.
You'll be able to check that out.
I think that about does it for our kind of announcements and stuff like that. I really want to get to, talking to Linnea Quigley here. So, we're calling her on the phone. So excuse the, the sound quality is not going to be on par with what you're used to, but, just want to give you guys a heads up. But, in case you start, just checking your settings or whatever, it's,
I think they've stuck through us this far.
I know.
If people continue listening how we first started out.
Jesus.
So thanks for sticking out while we were messing through the technical difficulties from past shows.
Let's go and jump into our musical break, and then we will come back and talk to Linnea Quigley. Today's band is an Atlanta-based hardcore band. They are called Mask the Wretch, and their title track of their upcoming LP, Age of Deception, was just launched, or just made available for a free download. Their album comes out on June 24th. So this is Mask the Wretch with the song Age of Deception on the ScreamCast. That was The Wretch Make, with the title track of their upcoming LP, Age of Deception. It's available, the song's available for free right now, and I'll put a link in the show notes over at thescreamcast.com. Their album is out on June 24th, so if you like that song, definitely keep that in mind when that comes out.
One went crazy and slaughtered the entire family, then committed suicide. They could never figure out who did it. Too much blood and guts.
I can't believe we're gonna party here. Come on, we don't want to be late to our own party. You did remember to invite some cute boys to the party, I hope. Of course I did. And we're gonna scare the shit out of them.
Well, we have a very special guest with us today, Linnea Quigley.
Hello.
And I'm pronouncing that correct, right? I want to make sure.
Say it again.
Linnea.
You got it correct.
All right.
Most people don't. You're right on there.
Thank God.
I warned him. I've
been practicing all day long.
If he gets it wrong.
Oh, no. That makes the tension more, like, palatable. It's like, oh, my God, am I going to get it right? Am I going to get it right?
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Of course, we'll be throughout our conversation today, I'm sure we'll be talking about Night of the Demons that was just released on Scream Factory. It was earlier this year, and it was one of my most anticipated titles. So they did a bang up job on it. But
good. And I'm going to be seeing Kevin and Amelia and Jill and Kathy and everybody at Indianapolis in a couple weekends.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
There's going to be a reunion at Days of the Dead, so it's going to be exciting.
Very cool. I first saw you in The Return of the Living Dead. That was my first time that I'd seen you as an actress. And of course,
oh my.
So it was an induction for sure.
Yes, I guess so.
So let's just say you made an impression. We'll leave it at that. But watching the movie again, I had that Blu-ray and I was watching bits and pieces of it last night. That thing looked like it had to have been just kind of an uncomfortable shoot just because of all the mud and water and as opposed to like Night of the Creeps, where I know that you guys said it was more kind of a party atmosphere.
You mean Night of the Demons, Sean?
Night of the Creeps. Night of the Creeps. Night of the Demons.
I was going, wait, did I do that movie? I'm like, okay.
I still got Tom Atkins on the brain.
I'm so glad that somebody realizes how hard that was to do, because most people think, oh, it's just fun and, a little bit of rain and stuff like that, but they don't realize you're under those machines for 8-9 hours a night and you're freezing and buried in mud and, just all that we had to go through. So I'm glad you realized how hard that was to do.
Was that your first film experience, or did you have some appearances before that?
Oh, I had a bunch of ones before that, like smaller roles, not in anything huge or anything like that. But I'd done some roles before that, like Savage Streets.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
and some films like that where I had kind of a leadish role. But, this was like a real great experience for me in one way. And in another way, it was kind of a horrible experience, too.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned Savage Streets. It's one of those things where, it's just some of your older titles that you were in beforehand, before Return of the Living Dead, especially a film called The Black Room that you played in. It was from 1983. That film doesn't get enough love as it is, and that was always a favorite of mine. And Graduation Day was always another one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually getting released on Blu-ray here not too long. Vinegar Syndrome's releasing.
That's what I heard, yes. Somebody wants to do a commentary with me, and they're trying to arrange it or something like that. But, yeah, Graduation Day and The Black Room really don't get talked about when I go to conventions or just anytime.
Yeah. And another one I actually have on VHS, I've had it for a long time. I knew you were... I think you had a bit role in it. Was Young Warriors, probably around that same time.
I did. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, that was
still have my VHS copy of that.
Oh my God, where I'm on the cover on the back of a motorcycle. I thought that was so fun to do. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Even though I don't think there was any of that in the movie.
Yeah, it's the front cover doesn't really. It's not what you expect. I mean, the movie's still decent, it's still fun, but it wasn't having the guy with I think his shirt was off, if I remember correctly. His shirt's off. And someone's holding an assault rifle. Maybe it's you.
Yeah. And it could have been. It could have been.
But but that's
it was it had nothing to do with the movie. It was just there.
I think my first experience with you was when I was very, very young, probably 6 or 7. I saw Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I know you have a small role in that as well. But it's one of those things where they always talk about scream queens. Of course, that's what you're known as, a scream queen. But you have a lot of iconic roles in these movies, you were Trash in Return of the Living Dead. You're the lipstick and the tit girl from Night of the Demons that everybody knows. And you're the one that gets impaled by antlers in Silent Night, Deadly Night. So it's all your death scenes are very, very notable, or you do something absolutely nuts,
Exactly. Which is
you
great.
Also have your killer workout video,
Oh, of course. That has to be mentioned in there,
And I saw that at your table at Spooky when I met you, and I was so happy to see that your killer workout video is still getting love.
I know it. We put it out. It was about a year and a half ago on DVD with just a limited run of 1,000, and it's it's amazing to me. So many people that have it on VHS, and they wanted to get it on DVD because their VHS is kind of, run down and stuff like that. It was amazing that people remembered that so well.
Yeah, well, that's one of those things that probably people rewound constantly to watch it over again. Because I know I was one of those little boys that did that. So.
Oh, how cute!
I was guilty of that. So.
Oh, well, that's good though. I'm glad you're a healthy guy.
But yeah, it's just your run of films. It goes on and on and on of from like I said, little bit parts to kind of bigger roles. Of course, working with you worked with Kevin Tenney. I mean, you were in the Vice Academy movies, for Christ's sake. Oh yeah,
I forgot about. Yes, those were really a lot of fun to do too.
Yeah. And I think those
were all
got
comedy,
released.
not horror. Yeah.
Yeah. And you did another one I mentioned to Sean today. It was Sex Bomb. That doesn't it's kind of a horror. It is a horror film in a way, but it's has a lot of comedy in it as well.
Oh yeah, it's kind of based on what it is like behind the B movie world, like a Roger Corman or something like that.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely go on for hours. Just each film.
I'm surprised you know these. Wow.
Yeah, Brad. Good Lord. I mean, I feel like because I most, I remember you mostly from the two that I mentioned. Night of the Demons.
Yeah.
And Return of the Living Dead. A lot of these I'm looking through and I'm like, oh yeah, and but Brad's crazy. He watches way more movies than I do.
My God! I guess I'll have to find out what he watches.
But I did
the same.
I did notice you have in here it says an uncredited role in Death Sport, which is actually a flick that I really like. How did you get into what was the moment that kind of got you into these films? Was it bit by bit or It
was bit by bit. It's like, to me, it was such a magic thing, the movies and everything. And the more that I did it, like little bit parts and stuff, the more I wanted to do. So it was kind of like an addiction, like, okay, I want to get more, I want to play a badass, I want to do this, I just got addicted to it.
Were you born in LA or did you come out here from somewhere else, or what was
I was living in Iowa. I was born in Davenport, Iowa, and at 16, my dad took over a college in LA, and I wanted to move anyway. And so I ended up in LA, where everybody is an actress or actor or a writer or something, and I just kind of fell into it because I didn't think I could do any acting. I took classes and did all that, but I still didn't think I was, pretty enough or good enough or anything to be an actor. I thought that was like an impossible thing.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm actually from Iowa as well. I went to middle school and high school and then college in Iowa. So yeah.
Where?
So Davenport is, the
Quad City.
Yeah, I was in more north central Iowa, so near Clear Lake, Mason City, Clear Lake area. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's funny. We're both Iowans.
Yeah. So whenever I hear someone from Iowa, I always have to mention I'm from Iowa too.
And I wanted many people from
Not
Iowa.
that many people are.
And I wanted to get the hell out too.
Not many people are. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great.
And there's something I read. I don't know if I read it or I heard it from a commentary on a DVD. But you were weren't you in a band at some point at that time too? Or?
Oh yeah. And we still play every now and then, but not so much because the bass player is clear on the other coast. The Skirts. I was in other bands, but the Skirts was the one that they used a lot of music for movies and things like that. And, it's in Nightmare Sisters, and we did a lot of other recordings, and we opened up for different bands, and it was just really fun. It was back in the punk era.
Yeah. Well, Nightmare Sisters.
We got in LA open for bands.
Was the song played in Nightmare Sisters then? Because that's directed by David Dakota, right?
David Dakota.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was Santa Monica Boulevard Boy was the name of the song that I did.
Yeah,
I wrote that.
I don't remember that.
And sang. It's right before I do something bad to somebody. It's a semi rock. I have a guitar and I'm jumping around and then the guy's watching me and something then happens after the song. I don't want to give it away.
Check that out again. Yeah, I'll have to check it out again. I know I own it. I think I have it on VHS. It's just one of those things where I can't recall the song. I remember the scene, but I just can't recall the song at all. So.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty awesome.
I really like the energy of kind of the music scene back then. I'm a huge fan of kind of 70s punk rock and then 80s into like kind of 80s hair metal, and I think that's why I kind of gravitate more towards the 80s, and especially 80s horror movies. I think are pretty much my favorite.
Oh yeah, they started to get totally unrealistic because the women all had like big fake boobs and perfect outfits, and the guys were all ripped and buff, and in, the 90s and 2000s. And, they were just regular people in the 80s, they seemed like.
Yeah.
And then it got like fashion conscious horror movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably why we were talking with a little bit with Pat Healy about this, Brad, about kind of that era, of films where people seemed, and I've mentioned this before, people seemed kind of more real, like.
Yeah, people were people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you could see yourself like that happening, which I think made it more frightening.
Yeah,
just go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, just a lot of our horror films, we had, just regular looking people. Like our stars were just, were just there. I mean, they weren't, the women weren't super duper beauty queens, and the men weren't, macho men like we have today. It was just, it was just normal people, and it was so fun about it.
It's like it gets so weird when all the guys are just like, they all have 6-packs and they all have like this, 5 o'clock shadow and just this perfect GQ look. It's like, what?
Yeah. Do you, one of my favorite things about Return of the Living Dead is kind of the punk rock people in it,
Yes.
I love that. I don't really see that. I don't know if there's that sense of like rebellion with young people now. You know what I mean?
No, they're too busy on their iPhone.
That's pretty much right. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, but I always gravitate towards kind of that attitude, and do you feel like that came through in a lot of your performances or in movies you kind of got involved with or not so much?
Oh yeah, I really loved that because it was punk rock era, and I'd been rehearsing with a lot of punk rock people like the Motels and the Go-Go's when they were punk before they went commercial, and just all these really great bands at the Mask where we used to perform and also rehearse at, and it was just great being around these punk rockers. They were so much fun and everything. So when I got that role, I could really relate to it, being in bands that were punk at the time.
I mean, the whole cast in Return of the Living Dead is so punk rock. It's pretty fucking phenomenal. Even their names, like Suicide, Trash, Scuzz,
yes.
and even Suicide says that one line. He says, "What do you think this is? A fucking costume? It's a way of life."
Yeah, I love that line. It's like exactly at that age what you thought, and that's you were defiant and everything. It was great.
Yeah, and it's just always one of those. It's that way, way of life, the way that you dress. Because I always make that comment that a lot of musicians, especially like your black metal people, are they going around like in town with the makeup on and like giving off this vibe of like they're hissing at people and just saying all these weird things, and it's just punk rock. Like when people are on stage and they're dressed like that, they have, the mohawk, they have the colored hair, they have the chains everywhere. When they walk off stage and go home, that's exactly how they dress. When they wake up, that's how they dress. It's not an act.
You're right.
It isn't a
You're
costume.
right. That's true.
But a lot of these other like different, even even hair metal bands, like they would do the glam rock thing. They didn't dress like that, like kind of outside. They would just dress up for the show. But there was never the case with punk rock, and I always loved that about it.
No, they lived the life. It was great.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
it was like so many people say that they wish they could have lived in the 80s, gone through their, teenage and 20s in the 80s, because it was so fun and it was a good time in the economy and just everything in general, the movies, the music, everything.
Yeah, I feel like people were a lot less mopey in the 80s. It was, let's jump into talking a little bit more about Night of the Demons. since the Scream Factory has the Blu-ray out right now, and it's fantastic. Yeah. I really love hearing you guys talk about how it was on set and how you all were involved with the movie with Kevin Tenney. How did you originally get involved with the movie?
Well, I almost didn't get involved with the movie. They called my manager because they'd seen me in some other things. And I was, I think, 26 at the time. And my manager said, yeah, it's for a bunch of teenagers that, make this seem and appear. And I said, I'm not going to go in because I'm going to be rejected. I'm too old for it. And he kept calling me back. He said, no, they really want to see you. And I go, no, I'm not going in because they're going to reject me. And he kept calling me. And finally I said, okay, I'll go in. But I thought in the back of my mind, I'm not going to get it. And I got there and they said, oh, you've got the part. And I was like shocked. I was like, what?
That's awesome.
That's how I got to meet Kevin Tenney and become great friends with him, and met Joe Augustin, who was the writer, who was great, and met everybody else.
And that was like your fourth big movie that year, right? I mean, you were, if I it was because you were in Hollywood Chainsaw
really,
Hookers around the same time.
Exactly. It was after Night of the Demons, so it was really only my second big movie. Return of the Living Dead. Well, Savage Street, Return of the Living Dead, and then Night of the Demons. So I guess the third, which I would consider, because I worked with Linda Blair and Savage Street, so that was pretty big for me. I was like, wow. And then... so that was my third one that I would consider a big one where I had a more substantial role.
It's a huge fucking role, Night of the Demons. I mean, that's the one scene I saw because I saw Night of the Demons. Yeah, I saw it when I was very young, and it didn't really I guess it didn't really affect, because I saw it when I was it was one of the, because I went through this whole thing where I was between 6 and 8 years old. I just got everything I get my hands on at the video store, and it was just one of those covers, cute. That cover of Angela, it was part 1 and part 2 around that time. Where it was just a horrifying face on the cover, and it scared me a little bit. I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna watch it. And I can't remember if I walked out of the room and was like, holy shit, that's great. But I just remembered that lipstick scene. I was like, ugh, is that what happens to boobs?
For a guy, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I was very young, but it was the one thing that stuck in my head.
Yes. Because it's so bizarre, and I love that part of it, that it was so bizarre. I thought, well, people will probably either they'll laugh at it or they'll just remember it and go, ooh, and luckily most people went, ooh, yuck.
Now, was that in the script that you read? Was that were they trying to figure out creative, gory stuff later on, or was that in the script when you originally read it?
As far as I remember, it was in the original script that I read. And I just was wondering, how are they going to do that? And, my ex-husband, we met on Night of the Demons, did the effects on it. And, he had me practice and, practice for a long time trying to pop Jay's eyes out. He was like a perfectionist. It was funny. But I didn't really get any practice on the lipstick scene. That was kind of just done on set.
And that's a fantastic effect, too. And I never really knew how it was done until I watched the special features on the Blu-ray. And it was more of it's like a gelatin mold. So did they have a time limit for you to perform that gag?
Not really.
No?
Even though gelatin can go fairly quickly, it wasn't hot in there.
Okay.
So it wasn't a time limit on it, really, no.
But just the way it looks, it's just fantastic. It makes me, I love practical effects, and whenever I get in conversations about how great practical effects are, I bring up the John Carpenter's The Thing, and then that scene in Night of the Demons.
Practical effects.
Yeah, because it just looks great, and it still looks great. I don't know, they recreated it in the remake. but I still dig this version, of that effect for sure.
Oh, good. See, I didn't see the remake. It's hard for me to see remakes. It was kind of promised by the producers that we'd all be back for the second and third ones. They're like, oh, okay, you'll work for less on this, and then the next one will pay you more, and that never happened.
Yeah, the guy who sold me my home loan said the same thing.
Are you talking about when they tried to do the sequel remake to Night of the Demons? Is that what you're talking about, or are you just talking about the original?
No, I'm talking about the original one, and then they went on to do, 2 and 3. Like they had said we were all going to be in the next ones, and it was kind of like, well, that never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was before kind of
things happen.
Yeah. There was no contract signed or anything like that, was there? I guess even with contracts, things can still happen.
Not that you'd be in that, but you know how Hollywood is, or anything is, any job is. They say, well, you do a good job on this one, we'll give you a raise, or we'll do this.
Yeah.
That usually doesn't happen when you get that told to you.
I wanted to ask you.
They just want you to do a good job on the first one.
Yeah, so they can make their money and be on their way. I wanted to ask you about these roles, especially the two movies we've talked about the most here, because on these ones you do have a lot of nudity in these ones, and in this conversation, I feel like in some instances you felt you weren't pretty enough for a role or whatever. If you saw in the script, especially on Return of the Living Dead, was it a concern for you to do those scenes, or did you just decide to go for it? I mean, what was kind of going through your mind when you
decided to just go for it. There's always, it's always like when you go to the doctor and the doctor makes you take your clothes off and you're like sitting there in your little thing. It's that kind of feeling, like you're just nervous and like wanting it to be over soon. At least that's what it is like with me. But it's always uncomfortable. I don't think you ever, unless you did it 24/7, get really comfortable with it. So you always are a little bit embarrassed by it.
Yeah. Because Return of the Living Dead is like a recurring nightmare. It's like those nightmares you have where you're naked in front of everyone and there's nothing you can do about it. Because there's a moment in that movie where it starts raining and it's like acid rain and everyone's starting to run and your character tries to grab her clothes but just can't quite get them all. It's just like
exactly. I tried, but I just couldn't reach and I had to run.
Oh man,
I know, that was kind of funny.
No, that's it's going back to Return of the Living Dead and of course Night of the Demons. It's just two of those films that they never actually got old. It's one of those things where you could watch over and over again because the friendship between not the friendship, but the camaraderie between everybody in Return of the Living Dead is just so tight. Like all the friends, they're just, they're good friends. They band together, they fight. Night of the Demons, there's this camaraderie of just assholes. And that's why I always liked it, because it was one of those films, and I don't know if it was written like that or like how they were going for it, but you hate every single fucking person in Night of the Demons, basically, and you just want to see them die.
They get on your nerve.
And that's what makes it so fun, because now it's not just, assholes being assholes to nice people. It's just assholes being the assholes, and the assholes just start dying. And I guess that's why it's so fun, because we get to see people that we don't like die a lot, aside from, was it Judy? I guess was the survivor.
Yeah,
girl.
Judy made it, and the one other guy made it.
It was
dressed as a pirate or something. Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
it's
God.
like the token black guy that always gets killed in movies. He's the one that ends up on top, which was awesome. And that's the thing, is you can't gauge. Aside really from Judy, I guess you can kind of tell, but you really don't know who's going to survive. Because at first you might think it's going to be Judy and her boyfriend, but her boyfriend turns out to be a total dick face, and then you want him to die. And I don't know, it's just, that movie is always fun for me, just to watch, not really have any emotional attachment to the characters.
Yeah, that's a good interpretation. I never, because when I do a movie, I know it, and I know the people, so I can't look at it objectively. It's, it's going to affect me a lot differently. So it's interesting to see somebody else's perspective of it.
Yeah, I always
You're right. Everybody
that,
is a jerk.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
It was especially, oh God, what's his name? Stooge.
Yes,
yeah,
Stooge.
Oh God, yeah. But anyways,
Hal
yeah.
Haven, yes.
Oh. But,
I know. He's like, oh my God, the typical wise ass kid that, you're like, get out of here.
But that goes for like everybody that worked on that movie, and obviously the script that was written, everybody nailed it. They took on those roles. They made it purely believable that these people. I mean, I guess it's probably easier to sometimes act like an asshole. I don't know. I'm usually an asshole all the time, so it's easier for me, of course.
Oh.
But just everybody nails that perfectly, and it really does feel authentic. So.
Oh, good. That's a good thing to hear. I like that.
Linnea,
I like that a lot.
Did you guys do kind of a couple weeks rehearsal with Night of the Demons like you did for Return of the Living Dead?
No.
Or okay.
No, we only had about maybe 5 days, I think. We really didn't have much time for it. It wasn't like Return of the Living Dead where, Dan was like placing my, skulls and, things on my clothing exactly where they should be, or positioning the mushrooms, perfectly. It was more, just, getting kind of the timing down and the jokes and, because I didn't get the jokes because it was a different lingo for me. I wasn't a high schooler. So
gotcha.
I was like, I had the worst time trying to learn how to say wuss. I kept saying woos. And I'm like, I had no idea how to say it.
That's really funny. Was
I know it. I was like, oh.
Was there a significant age gap between you and the other actors on Night of the Demons?
Most of them were around 1920. And at that time, if I was 26, and that's a big age gap there. Because when you're 18, 19, you're still kind of silly and playing around, and the first ADs had to calm them down a lot. So,
well, you were also in the industry for quite some time already, So, I mean, you were used to movie sets and, yeah.
Yes, I behave.
Kind of, though. Kind of.
Right. Except for my speech, I didn't behave. We'll just let them think I'm a bad girl. Sounds more fun.
Are you surprised at how your career has gone, like stemming from these movies in the 80s and just how many times people keep coming up to you, telling you how big of fans they are of these movies? Does it surprise you still, or have you settled into that?
Oh no, it totally surprises me. I'm so surprised, especially when people that are like in their 20s say, "Oh, I love Night of the Demons," or Return of the Living Dead, or one of those movies. I'm just shocked because they weren't even. Some of them, it's terrible to say, but they weren't even born when they came out. So it's really a nice thing that they are watching those movies.
And also having a reunion basically for it and having everybody together. I mean, how's that impact you? I mean, how does that truly, like, I mean, obviously you feel honored, but I mean, whenever you're first heard that, hey, we're going to get everybody that we can that worked on this film back together for kind of this reunion, convention. I can't imagine how that would make you feel. Like something was kind of maybe small time at the time, of course, because so many horror films came around that time, and it was actually Night of the Demons was made kind of towards when the horror stuff was kind of dying down a little bit, because it came out in the later 80s, was it like 88, 89, something like that, and you're kind of coming out of it. It's very small time. And it wasn't until later on that it impacted at the time, but it wasn't until years later where there was like, holy shit, Night of the Demons is badass. And then, everybody's, raving about it. So, that sudden that certain resurgence for you, how did that completely take you by surprise? Or, was it just kind of like coming and going at times and then, we are where we are today?
Well, it totally took me by surprise, all the people that had loved it growing up and then had shown it to their kids or shown it to their friends. And it was just, to me, an amazing thing that both of those films had lasted in people's memories and things that they watched every year or a couple times a year, that it just blew me away. I was really honored by that they would watch that a couple times a year and know some of the dialogue and the different things in it. They were real lovers of the film.
Yeah, I watch. It's one of those that I watch every Halloween. I've added it to my list the past few years.
Oh, yeah. That's sweet. And in both of them, there's, especially in Return, there's so much going on in the background, and you can watch it so many times and see something else in it. It's a little Easter egg or whatever you call it.
Well, there's a lot. There's so many Easter eggs in Return of the Living Dead, and that's one of the most fun things about it. I think my favorite is in the background when they're in the office. If you look at the eye chart, it says Bert is a slave driver.
I didn't even see that until I watched it like the third time on the big screen. I thought it was so funny.
Oh God, it's so funny. Yeah, I love it.
That was brilliant to do that. There were just those little things that made you know people really cared about what they were doing, and the audience was like, "Oh wow, I get it," and it was fun. It's going to be so fun to see. I have not seen Jill Terashita or Kathy Podwell, and there's one of the guys that's coming. I don't know which one. It's horrible, but I don't remember since the movie, really. So it's going to be amazing. I've seen Amelia and Kevin, of course, but I haven't seen the others. So it's going to be amazing to see them.
That's awesome.
I always find that interesting because you see a lot of people with in interviews about movies, and a lot of people you think that they got along really well, and they go years and years without seeing anyone. And as kind of just someone like me, like just a viewer not involved in the business, you think, oh, they're all in Hollywood, they're all actors, of course they see each other all the time. But
right.
that's not the case, No,
it's definitely not, and it's really sad when you end a movie because you bond for all that, the time together. You're all bonded very closely, and then it's over and you all go your separate ways, and who knows if you're going to ever see each other again. It's really kind of sad when you end a movie. You get that, like, let down for a few days.
Yeah. Actually, Felissa Rose was on our show just a couple episodes ago, and she really mentioned that, like, how hard it was to walk away from Sleepaway Camp after it was over because it was so much fun.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
Is that the case on?
You get to know each other.
Yeah. Is that the case on every movie you've been in, or is it just kind of depend on circumstance? Or
it depends on the circumstances and how involved you are in the filming. If you're only in there for a couple days, it's a little sad, but not like what it was on Return or Night of the Demons. You miss the crew, you miss the makeup people, the sound people, the director, the producer, everybody,
One film I want to ask you about one film that's actually really special to me, and a lot of people laugh when I mention this. And I actually wrote a review about it not too long ago, and the director saw it, and he actually contacted me, and he said, "Thanks." He absolutely hates the movie. He doesn't like that he did it. But it was funny. It was actually J.R. Bookwalter from Robot Ninja, which you have a very, very small role in.
Oh, that's right. So he hates the movie, huh?
Yeah, he doesn't like it. But I wrote this review, and he said, "Holy shit, like, why are you a fan?" Number one, and he actually he posted it on his Facebook, and then all of a sudden, all these people came at him like, "Holy shit, we all love Robot Ninja." And
that's adorable.
Yeah, he actually thanked me, and then he wrote because he owns Tempe Entertainment, and he said he just wanted to see what people would say. He was tossing around the idea about doing a sequel to Robot Ninja then. So if anybody knows
how long
who JR
ago was that?
Like last week.
Oh, I thought you were talking about years ago. That's great.
Yeah, and actually I contacted him and I said, "Hey, I would love to, announce this on the show, of course. So if anybody's a fan of J.R. Bookwalter, which, you probably don't know Robot Ninja, but you definitely know films like The Dead Next Door and the Witch House films. He's kind of, he doesn't really do film. He works for Apple or something now. But
isn't he back in Ohio or something now?
Yeah, he's right. He lived right. I found out he lived like right down the street from my grandmother, because I was born in Canton, and that's where all the films are filmed at. The Dead Next Door, Zombie Cop, all those are filmed like in my hometown, and that's actually how I got to know his films, because there was a video store called Video Time, not too far from my grandmother's house, and they actually had this small J.R. Bookwalter section because of most of the films were filmed in the Akron, Canton area. And, and I eventually, that's how I saw it, because I saw a zombie movie, The Dead Next Door, so I immediately picked it up, and I just went through. And at a very young age, I found out who this guy was, and I followed him for a long time. And I was always a fan. And if anybody is a fan of J.R. Bookwalter, go to his Facebook, just tell him, like the page, just comment saying anything about his films or Robot Ninja, because it would be killer if this guy got back into filmmaking.
That'd be awesome.
Because he did
I would love
so
it if
much.
He did too.
Yeah, he did so much with so little on those things. Then Robot Ninja's goofy. Like I said that in the review. It's super goofy. It's just completely out of control. But you can really see he did so much just with nothing. With
no budget, nothing. Just.
And that's another question. How did you, obviously, you're in the horror industry for a while, but how did you come across something so small from J.R. Bookwalter like that
I was working. I kind of introduced David Dakota to J.R. Bookwalter when he was editing Dead Next Door, and he hired J.R. to do a lot of movies for him, or not, some movies for him, and for Charlie Band. And so David said, "Oh, would you do a favor? And you'll get paid and everything, but if you could work a day on Robot Ninja with Burt Ward." And I said, "Oh, okay, sure." And so that's, even though I knew JR, that was the first time I'd worked for him.
Oh, that's right. Because you worked alongside Burt Ward, who played. I forget his character's name, but
I do too.
Yeah, all I can remember is the Robot Ninja, which is played by Michael Todd, Leonard Miller, who sadly I believe he passed away not too long ago. But
that's right.
Yeah,
it's so scary when people start dying. It's like there's been a lot of that lately, and I'm like, oh my god, and at young ages too.
Yeah, he wasn't that he wasn't that old at all. And another thing was always funny is that I picked up Robot Ninja from a used video store years ago.
Wow.
And I was so excited to find it because it's one of those VHS tapes that's just ultra rare. It's very, very hard to come by. And when I pulled it out, I shit you not, I will send you a picture because you know what your signature looks like. You signed this tape for somebody back in the day, and your signature is on my VHS tape. And I almost fucking melted because like I said, I've always been a huge fan, and then I saw that, and I'm like, of all movies for people to sign and bring to you, they brought you Robot
That's
Ninja.
Weird.
And
that is weird.
I just fucking it just made my day. It just made my day. But anyways, enough Robot Ninja. We'll talk about Night of the Demons again. But I love that film.
Well, I wanted to. We're starting to run out of time here, but I wanted to kind of. Have you seen the Blu-ray of this, Linnea?
Yes. Yes, it's really good.
Yeah, it's
really, really good.
They did a bang-up job on it. It's one of my favorite releases by Scream Factory that they've done so far. And what were your initial thoughts on it? Did you guys have a screening of it, or did they send you a copy, or when did you see it?
They did have a screening, and I was on a plane getting into LA really, really late. So I missed the screening. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have been there because everyone was there. I missed the screening, but they did give me the Blu-rays. They gave me like 5 of them.
Nice.
So I do have them, and I love the cover work and just, what they did with, the commentaries. It's just great. It's a great Blu-ray.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
Because it's always, like, really depressing, like, when they re-released Return of the Living Dead after so many years, it wasn't that great of a commentary, but it was, I expected more.
Yeah, it was kind of just, they kind of just redid it on Blu-ray, and there was nothing insanely new. Like,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so
how did you feel about being on the cover of the new artwork?
Oh, I loved it.
Was that shocking to you though that they of all the people, instead of Angela, that they
oh yeah, because Angela was always there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Angela was always on the cover, so I was like, ha ha, I'm on it now.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny, and definitely took because we're so used to the face of Angela, and just to have you on the front, I was just like, that's so kick ass,
thanks.
I really dug how they switched that up.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite covers too. So cool. So we definitely recommend the Blu-ray. So
just the sound
good.
alone.
Yeah,
the sound alone. Like whenever Angela speaks.
I
have a pretty kick-ass sound system. The house just fucking vibrates when she speaks.
Yeah,
and
I'd love
totally,
to hear that.
totally different experience because I've owned it on VHS, DVD, everything, and I was super excited when I got this one. And when I popped it in, and my house started vibrating when she speaks, I was like, man, this is bliss. I mean, this is exactly what Blu-ray is supposed to fucking bring to the table, and especially what Scream Factory doing this treatment. People call the Scream Factory treatment. Yeah. This is one of those films that got so much attention and so much detail, and they just did a fucking bang-up job on this one.
Awesome.
I know. I'm so glad they did it. I'm so glad they did it.
Yeah.
Because it deserves a good, re-release like this.
Yeah. I wanted to, like I said, we're running out of time, but I did want to have some time here, because Brad just let me know, Linnea, about your GoFundMe that you're doing. And it's interesting because we had Pat Healy on the show last week, and we were talking about the movie Cheap Thrills, and we got on the subject of, that no matter what, there's always times where, people kind of run into some issues, and we all have been through our ups and downs, with different things that life has brought our way. And at one point he said he even had to sell off his entire movies and just to make ends meet and everything. But your GoFundMe is to help save your family home that your parents you owned. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
that I live in.
Okay.
It's I was very embarrassed to do it, but it got to a point where it's very dangerous, and it's the rainy season here. And last night I had buckets of water just coming through my roof. It was really bad. And I've got black mold, which is really dangerous. Mm-hmm. But I'm doing the GoFundMe campaign to try to help raise enough money to get the roof done and then do the inside part to get rid of that black mold.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I have a roof on there, at least more rain. I was up on the roof with another tarp trying to cover another spot that just let go. But today, before the rain hit again, but it's like it's really dangerous for the animals and for me. It's literally about to fall through.
Well,
and I just got to the point where it's like I just don't have the extra money to afford this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's great. Like, I think, you know, I think it's fantastic that I think it's a great thing for people to see that, you know, just because, like I said, like even with when we're talking to Pat about this, like just because people have been in movies or whatever, it doesn't mean, you know, everyone's set. I mean, he said that there's kind of a big divide between like movie stars, you know what I mean? And most people working in the movie business, you know, you're working on a few movies. You get paid from that movie, and maybe you'll get residuals if it does well later on. But most actors are, you know, just trying to make a living and doing something that they love to do. So, I think it's great when someone like yourself can do something like this and not necessarily care about who your critics may be about this. I mean, we all get to a point in our lives where sometimes we just need some help every now and then. So GoFundMe.
You have to put your ego aside and just go, I need help.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
and the people have been amazing that have helped and just shared it and, you know, helped. It's been amazing. I felt really touched by it.
What I want to ask you is, do you have to reach a goal for it to get funded, or do you get funded whatever you raise? Because I know Kickstarter, you
get funded no matter what.
Okay.
It's not like
they take it all away if you don't make it.
Yeah, Kickstarter.
No, they don't do that. No,
okay.
Not like Kickstarter or anything. No.
Good.
So I was able to go out and buy the tarp, which will make it so I don't have to put about 20 trash cans around to try to catch this water and then empty them as fast as it comes in. So, you know, I put that on today, so I'm crossing my fingers that it'll delay, you know, the pouring in of rain.
Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a link in the show notes at thescreamcast.com. We're going to post it on our Facebook, and it doesn't look like there's like a really easy link. I guess if you go to GoFundMe.com and
if you just look it up on just Google, just type in Linnea and type in GoFundMe, and it will be the first thing that pops up.
Okay. Awesome.
And I think we can link it, which I think I'm saving it right now. And just so we can, we'll be tweeting a lot about it. And it's another thing that Sean touched base a little bit with it. And I kind of want to go further because I know there was kind of like a tiny bit of, you know, and not, I would say backlash, but there's always those types of people that think that just because you made a movie, or, you know, let's say even, you know, you've made 80 movies, it's those films that, you know, these people are in, and, you know, it's just like Pat Healy, Felissa Rose. These films are just like day jobs like we have. I mean, people aren't making fucking $5 million, $10 million to be in a movie like fucking Tom Cruise or Jim Carrey. They get probably like $5,000, $10 or $10,000 for a movie, $20,000 if maybe, who knows? You know, it all varies depending on what the budget is, and you know, it's just going to last them for a little bit. So, you know, these negative comments, especially like when people do, and this is one thing I do want to bring up, and I didn't tell Sean about this, and it's just something I noticed speaking with you at the convention a couple weeks ago, is that you walk around at these conventions. This really touched me a lot, and it really made me think, because especially since you have this GoFundMe going, all these motherfuckers. But I'm sorry, I take that back. All these fucking people that are at this convention, you know, I mean, I obviously love a lot of these people, but I want to say it in that sense because I saw you at a table, and of course, you know, you have your autographs, you're charging autographs, everybody's charging autographs, but people are fucking charging like $50, $60 for a photo. And somebody came up to you It was a younger kid, and he said, "How much for a photo?" And he had the money in his hand, and you said, "No, sweetheart, there's no money I'm going to accept for a photo. That's for free." And you like stood up, you stood beside the person, they fucking took a photo. I'm like, wow. You could make money from a photo, but you're not doing that. I mean, obviously you got to make money somewhere, because you're taking the time out of your, whole weekend. You have to have something from it. And that's what a lot of these people do. That's why they do conventions. It's just, sometimes it's for, maybe a reunion. Sometimes it's because they need the money, because they're not getting roles after roles from fucking Hollywood asking them to be in these films to make a shit ton of money. And, it bothered me when I hear people. Yeah, exactly. And it bothers me when I hear people say that, like, oh, like, even if it was you, like, oh, she played in Return, everybody knows her. Of course she's in Hollywood. Not necessarily. Because,
that's true.
Even the films that you're doing today, you're not getting, a ton of money for. And, it's more or less a passion for you at this point. And what do you expect these people to do? You go out and get fucking day jobs? Like, you expect, some of these, older actors and actresses that have been in the industry, they fucking make movies because they love it. And, they're not going to go out and get a job at fucking McDonald's or Best Buy. Like, they're obviously going to continue doing what they want. And I don't know. Yeah. I'm done with my fucking rant, but I just wanted to say that to get that out there because it bothers me sometimes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm done. I talk a lot.
It's all good.
It's like, there were so many movies that I hardly got anything on, and people made so much money on them. And it's like, people don't realize that. They think I probably got a ton of money and because the movie did well or something like that, but if they really knew when I started out and everything, how little I worked for just to get myself out there, they'd go, what?
I know it's just equivalent. Like I've told people again and again, because I'll have, maybe a friend make a comment or something like that. I said, think about your very first job or even a job you have now. You sit there, you make, between, let's say, $8, $20 an hour. But the company you're working for daily brings in like 10,000 or, even close to, you might work for a big hospital and they're bringing in millions of dollars every day. That's exactly what it's like working on a fucking movie. You're working just like somebody else, working for somebody to make millions of dollars off this project. And that's what happens.
And you never know how it's going to go. It's maybe be a hit and might be a dud.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain people that definitely come up on top, and live these lives, but there's just a lot of people that stick with it, and that's why they're making money from it. I mean, obviously, you've stuck with it. You've never taken a break, as far as I can tell, even from the late 70s until now. I mean, you still have. You just had Virginia Obscura come out, which I was a big fan of, and you were promoting a film called The Disciples. I just finally saw that at Spooky Empire, and I was really impressed that it turned out. I had no clue. I'd learned that you have no clue how anything's going to turn out, and I was really impressed by the way it was edited and the performances and a lot of things. Oh, I mean, just the lineup alone on that, I kind of wanted to talk about that for a second. Yeah. I mean, it's you, Tony Todd was in that, Angus Scrimm, Bill Moseley, Morgan Peter Brown, which was on our show recently.
Brink Stevens, Debbie Rochon, Camden Toy. Oh boy, who am I missing? It's got a
huge fucking ensemble cast. Yeah. And
Deborah Lamb, a lot of
I think people need to look out for.
Before we go, Brad, you wanted to bring up a short film that you dropped me a line about.
Yes, I actually there's a short film that I was sent from an acquaintance, going to be, he's a friend. He's definitely a friend. I don't know him that well, but he wanted me to just check it out because he knows my history in horror and kind of like how I'm, a fucking sick person and, obsessed with this type of thing. And I'll watch anything, and I usually get my honest opinion. I'm not a fucking liar. I don't like to give people false hope. I'll just be brutally honest with them. So when he told me to check out his short, I was like, okay, whatever. But this short fucking hit me so goddamn hard, and like it's just so well shot. It has this underlying like hidden little message, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, because it's just watch it to the very, very end, to the credits, and you'll understand. But it's a short film called Scum. It's directed by my buddy Zach Shieldwatcher. I'm sorry, but I don't know how to pronounce your fucking last name. I should have left that up to Sean to say, because he always fucks up people's names. But Zach Shieldwatcher, he directed a short film called Thrill Kill that was very fun. But he hit hard with this short film called Scum, and it's basically just a downward spiral from a man who just goes completely fucking insane. And I just want to spend a moment on it, and we're definitely going to link it in the show notes and talk about it. He's releasing it online on Friday, and it will be already available when this show airs on Monday, which is today. And so I just want you guys to check it out. I actually had when I watched it, this wasn't, I wasn't going to put it in the show. We weren't really going to do that, but I watched it, and it was just so awesome and so brilliant, so well shot. I was like, hey, do you mind if I send this to Linnea Quigley? And he's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, yeah, like do that. He's a huge fan as well. And I said, cool. I just want to see what she says. And, obviously she watched it. And what was your reaction with it?
I really enjoyed it. It was like the cinematography, the acting, just, you could feel every kind of nuance and everything that this guy's mind was going through, and the changes, and just, it was really creepy and disturbing.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
It's one of those things that, I mean, it's not like, it's so borderline with, he doesn't go over the line of being gory or brutal, which I really liked.
No.
Yeah, it's like he hits like certain things here or there that's kind of brutal in a sense, but there's so many times when people make films like that where they want to show the psychotic side. It's like the gorier, bloodier we get, or the most disgusting is the scarier side, and it's not. It's the more contained killer.
Yeah.
That we see that, he lashes out, but he's still contained. He doesn't go absolutely insane.
Yeah. And there's a definite psychological horror in here. And sometimes, like, that's the thing with some movies, and I mean, this is a short film, and I would love to see, what he could do with like a feature length. But there's like a lot of movies, they either go psychological or they go more like brutal horror. And I think he blends the two.
Yeah, very
perfectly. Well. And when you're done with this, and I definitely stay through all the credits and stay through the credits on this one. But
because there's a lot of meaning behind it.
Yeah,
like,
it's
the final credit explains what's going on.
Yeah,
and it really, really hits it hard, and all comes together.
It's fantastic. It's there's a message, an underlying message there that you don't get, from I feel like a lot of horror is just trying to shock you, and I think he does a good job of both shocking you and making you think, and so I think it's really fantastic. So yeah, everyone check it out. Brad, should we it's called Scum, and it's on.
Yeah, it's called Scum.
Is he going to release it on Vimeo?
Yeah, he's going to release it on Vimeo, and we'll link it in the show notes,
cool.
And obviously we'll tweet about it and probably put it on, or we will put it on our Facebook page, so you'll be able to see it if you're interested. And I highly, I would say if you're a fan of kind of like that new thing that's going on with like the Astron 6 guys, and especially Jason Eisner, the director of Hobo with a Shotgun, Jason Eisner would be so proud of this shit, because that's kind of what I felt like Zach was channeling when he was making this movie, because it felt like this short film of Hobo with a Shotgun or something. Right,
but it was without of the exploitation tendencies.
Yeah,
though.
Yeah, it was like he toned it down to more of a classy. It was very classy, like what he did. I mean, I'm not saying Hobo with a Shotgun is not classy, but it's more of a comedy, brutality, exploitation thing, like Sean said. This is, like I said, it's more contained, so it's a little bit scary. It's more real life than being comical.
Right.
It's not comical at all.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's great. So,
but anyways,
check it out.
And the dog doesn't get hurt.
You kill a dog in a movie, you lose your audience.
Oh yeah, the horror audience goes, I'm not going to watch this. So I just want to ease everybody's time so they can watch it and be, caught up in it and everything, but know that the dog doesn't get hurt.
That's such a funny dichotomy with kind of horror fans. If someone can die a brutal death, but if the pet gets it, then it's
awful. Then
yeah.
Definitely lose your very quick.
All right.
But yay, Zach, you really hit it on the nail with this one.
Well, we got to start wrapping up, Brad, but let's go ahead and talk about, some of the movies. Linnea, if you don't mind, just let us know what's coming our way here in 2014. I know you have a handful of things, so I wanted to give you a chance to talk about those.
There's Demonica, which is Demons on Skates, which is coming out. And I think, that was shot in Iowa, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
And I've done a couple other films for them, too. Legend Has It and Collapse. And so Demonica should be a very fun film. There's Disciples, which you talked about. There's Blood Story, which is made by Joe Hollow also, which has got Robert Zadar in it, who's a very interesting actor.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's fucking iconic,
he's
too.
He's amazing.
Jesus.
Oh, he is. He's great. And then there's Hunters that I'm doing another one with them called The Satanist by Adam, and I always forget his last name, and I feel so bad, but it's going to be a very disturbing film. I've seen some of it.
Yeah, we'll definitely be checking that one. When you say disturbing, when you say disturbing, I'm really excited to fucking know what this is.
Yes, it is disturbing, very disturbing. And then It Came from the Ether is going to come out, and oh my God, I've worked on so many this last year. I'm like, The Trouble with Barry's out now, I think. That's a fun one. And
you have just so many. You can't
Trophy Heads is out right now on Full Moon streaming video.
Oh, okay,
Trophy Heads is like an episodic thing. It's just the second episode aired today. And That's got Brink, Michelle, and I. It's very interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, because I know Virginia Obscura was one of the very first. I think it's one of the very first films when Full Moon did their on-demand VOD thing. That's one of the films that they picked up. I do have another quick question because I know that Scream Factory has announced Pumpkinhead 2 coming out. Do you have any? Are you going to be working on? Because I know that you have a kind of.
I have no idea.
Yeah, you have. I
didn't know about it.
Yeah, you have a smaller role in Pumpkinhead 2. But I didn't know if you were. Are you going to be involved with that at all, or obviously not, since you didn't know?
I do not know. They haven't contacted me yet, but you never know.
Yeah, I think it's like set for September or something.
It got pushed back to October.
They still have time. And graduation day, I know they want to try to do something with me, so we'll see about that too.
Very nice.
Awesome.
That'd be amazing. Well, Linnea, I want to thank you so much for talking with us today. About your movies.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, and I definitely, I'm gonna, as soon as we get off the phone here, I'm gonna grab my wallet here. I'm gonna send some money towards you for GoFundMe. And if you're listening and you want to help someone out, feel good about yourself, help someone out, definitely click on the link that I'm gonna put in the show notes at thescreamcast.com and help get this goddamn roof fixed, people. Come on.
Thank you so much. You're so sweet.
You're welcome.
You really are.
And we wish you all the best, all these projects. I can't wait to see. You got so much coming out here. And
I forgot already. You just named like 20 movies.
I know. I'm like, Jesus.
I know. I forgot too. And then there's 3 Scream Queens, which will come out with Brink, Michelle, and I. We just did about a month ago.
Oh, okay, nice. Very cool.
That's awesome.
And I got some homework to do. I need to catch up on my Linnea Quigley watching because I'm behind.
That's right.
So
that's right.
So that's going to happen.
Lot, man.
I know.
So great.
It's going to happen. So, well, again, Linnea, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you, guys.
You're on Twitter. Where can people find you? What's your
Twitter at
Twitter
Linnea Quigley.
Awesome. And of course, we'll have a link to that as well. You could find us on Twitter at Scream_cast. And of course, on the website, thescreamcast.com. And myself, I'm Sean C. DeRigger. That's Sean spelled like Sean Connery on Twitter.
Oh, whatever. I'm actually changing my Twitter name.
Don't change your Twitter name, Brad. No, don't do it.
No, I'm changing it to fuck you,
No.
Sean. Yeah. My Twitter name's going to be fuck you, Sean.
Okay.
So I can't wait to change it tonight.
Oh, gosh. Okay. See, at some point, we always go off the rails, and at least it's at the end.
I usually derail.
Yeah.
I know. Well, thanks all of you for listening. Really appreciate all the new listeners that have dropped us a line on Twitter and let us know that you guys have been digging the show. It really means a lot to hear from you guys. You can drop us an email if you want over at thescreamcast.com. There's the contact tab. So drop us a line, let you know. And if you have any suggestions for movies that you'd like to see us cover, definitely let us know. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye until next week. Have a good one.
Goodbye.
Oh, I'm sad now.
Oh, don't tell me you're leaving. The party's just begun.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go. Well, welcome everyone. I clipped. Jesus Christ.
You're stupid.
Get all this out of the way first.
Welcome everyone to the ScreamCast.
Talking to a movie star today, people. We're talking to movie stars here, people. Talking to the guy that makes this voice the whole time. What do you say?
That's a good voice.
Here we go.